Okay, today we're going to learn Shabbat Daf Kuftet. Today's daf is sponsored by Pearl Mattinson in honor and memory of her sister Karen Tendler, Zechrona Livracha, on her 10th year at site today. Okay, today, take a deep breath before we start. We're going to learn about all sorts of things people did for medicinal purposes. We're kind of familiar with these if you've been continuing from the beginning, you know that the Gemara every once in a while starts giving you a list of remedies, home remedies. If you remember the last time we talked about it, we learned don't try these at home, except for that one with the bone on the head. And if you get a bone stuck in your head, you put the meat on your head. Anyway, you're not supposed to try these at home, and the reason given by the Maharil is because we're worried that you might not actually do them correctly, and you can even see from today that there were debates about how exactly to do things correctly or not. With that, we'll get started, but the real main point here, before we get off on these tangents about what you would do if you have the following diseases, is really the issue of Refuah and Shabbat, which we discussed yesterday. We started discussing, we'll continue this today, which is under what circumstances is one allowed to use things for medicinal purposes on Shabbat. Now, what I didn't mention, which is really worth mentioning, which is obviously if there's danger, and we're going to see this today, once you're in a dangerous situation, which doesn't have to be, this whole Gzeirah, the rabbi said, don't take medicines because you might come to grind up the spices, is for a regular choleh, but not someone who's in any danger in any way. Now, again, danger doesn't necessarily mean pikuach nefesh. Obviously, then it's allowed. The question is some sort of danger where it could lead to something more serious. There obviously becomes allowed. We're talking about less severe dangers. And the question then becomes, and then it also becomes this cross between what are you eating because it's healthy to eat, and what are you eating because it's really for medicinal purposes? If there's things that one could eat because they're healthy and they're working for medicinal purposes, then they become allowed because then it's not obvious you're doing it for medicinal purposes, like we saw with going in Yam HaMelech. Do people go in there otherwise, or do they only go in there for refuah? If it's only for refuah, then you obviously are going to have more of an issue, because then it looks like, it's also an issue of marit ayin and what people might think. So these are the criteria. We're going to get through the criteria today. Okay, because we ended with Shmuel, and Shmuel was giving some advice about health issues, so here we're going to start with Hu Haya Omer at the bottom of Kuf Chet Amud Bet. Another thing Shmuel would say, if you remember, we ended with yesterday, wash your hands in the morning with cold water, wash your hands and your feet in the night with warm water. Now he says, Yad la'ayin tikatzetz. If you put your hand in your eye, your hand should get cut off, meaning this is a bad thing to do. Most people understand that he's talking about first thing in the morning. This is why we do netilat yadayim in the morning. It comes from here. There's a ruach ra'ah that comes on you at nighttime, and therefore you have to wash your hands in the morning to get rid of it. So hu haya omer, so yad la'ayin, if you touch your eye, tikatzetz. Yad lachotem, tikatzetz. If you touch your nose, it should get cut off. Yad lapeh, tikatzetz, your mouth. Yad laozen, tikatzetz, your ear. Yad lachasuda, tikatzetz. Right, chasuda, they say, is chasuda. It's just a wound. Okay, if you touch a wound, then tikatzetz. Moving on our list, we're going to get to all these things in a minute. Yad la'ama tikatzetz, if a man touches private parts. Yad lepi tabat tikatzetz, your anus. Okay, this is basically, we're going to say, we've shifted gears in the middle. In the beginning, we're talking just about, in the beginning, we're referring only to things that have to do with refuah and Shabbat specifically, medicinal things, or I'm sorry, not medicinal, but things that will cause injuries to your body. In other words, things about this ruach ra'ah that gets on your body, and specifically relating to first thing in the morning. But in the middle of the list, they're going to go to other things that you're just better off not touching for various reasons. Here with touching your private parts is going to lead to tumah keri. They never like that whole issue. And now we're going to move into ligigit. So ligigit is if you touch the barrel of beer. Okay, now some people say it's going to actually affect the beer poorly. If you touch the barrel of beer, it messes up the beer. Maybe that's the reason. Not so clear exactly what the issue is. Maybe this is, again, we go back to corona and germs, and this is a way of avoiding germs. And maybe that's also part of the idea in the morning. You wake up in the morning, you have germs on you from the nighttime, and we want to make sure that you're basically that you don't have any issues. Yad misameh, so the hand could cause blindness. This is why don't touch your eyes. Yad machreshet, it could cause deafness. Don't touch your ears. Yad maleh polipus, it could cause polyps. Tanya, Rabbi Natan Omer, bat chorin hizo umakpedet. Okay, so now Rabbi Natan tells us the name of this evil spirit that comes is called bat chorin. Now, bat chorin, what's a free person is, first of all, like a free spirit. And it's also, the idea is, we always call it a respectful person, right? We want to be on Pesach like we're free men, we're free women, free people. The idea being basically an important person. So we're basically saying this evil spirit has importance, and therefore it's very serious, and take it seriously. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Puchma vir bat melech. Now, once we're talking about this, we're going to say what things. We already learned wash your hands. That can help avoid it. But there's another thing, Puchma vir bat melech, uposeket hadima u'marbe se'ar ba'fapim. So what helps this? Eyeshadow, which is either eyeshadow that one uses for makeup, it could be, or it could even be someone that, it could be an eye salve, some sort of, something people put on their eyes, that can avoid this bat melech. Now, where we get to bat melech, we were talking about bat chorin. So it seems that some people say the girsa should be here, bat chorin, or maybe earlier it should be bat melech, and that they're really all talking about the same thing. And what does it do? It stops teary eyes. It's marbes se'ar ba'afapim. It allows your eyelashes to grow. Besides that, it gets rid of this evil spirit. It has other medicinal effects about it. Having more eyelashes is good because it protects your eyes. Tanya Nami Hachi, another bright to support this. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Puch ma'avir bat melech uposeket hatima u'marbes se'ar ba'afapim. Says the exact same thing. Va'amar Maruk va'amar Shmuel, alin ein behem mishum refuah. Okay, leaves, certain type of leaves, there's not a problem for medicinal purposes. Now, there's a big debate. What are we talking about? Rashi says we're talking about eating these particular leaves. Tosfot says, he quotes, he says, if you look at the first Tosfot, he says, Rashi says we're talking about eating, but the Re says that we're talking about putting these leaves on your eyes, because we were talking about eyes, where all of a sudden did we move into eating? So therefore, there's a debate. What exactly? There's a debate about a lot of these things today. I'll just point out, because again, no one understood the reality of what they were talking about. They already used different things for medicines once you jump from the time of the Gemara to the time of the Rishonim. So lots of different opinions. So Shmuel says, again, Mar Ukva says in the name of Shmuel, there's no problem with refuah, because either people eat these for other reasons, or maybe people put them on their eyes for other reasons, and therefore that's not a problem. Again, we go back to the criteria. For something to be a problem, it has to be something that you would only use it for medicinal purposes. This is used for other purposes and just, nice for your eyes, like you go to a spa and people put things on their eyes or things like that. Or you would eat these for other reasons, because they're tasty, because they're healthy. Healthy is not the same thing as medicine. Amar Rav Yosef, kuzberata ein ba mishum refuah. Okay, again, the question with the next few things is going to be either these leaves that it's an issue for kuzbera, for eating them. Okay, we know kuzbera is coriander, or is it for putting on your eyes? Amar Rav Sheshet, and by the way, Rav Yosef was blind, okay, which is interesting in terms of him talking about things for the eyes. So he's saying this isn't healthy. This isn't good for your eyes necessarily. Rav Sheshet, Amar Rav Sheshet, kishut, ein behem bishum refuah, hops, there's no issue of refuah. Amar Rav Yosef, kuzberata, and now he gets into specifics, afilu lididi kasheli, even for me, why is it okay, ein behem bishum refuah? Because it's actually bad for your eyes. And therefore, for me, even me, now why is he saying even me? Because I'm blind. Even me who's blind, it's difficult for me. And Amar Rav Sheshet, who was also blind, gargira, he's talking about another substance, afilu lididin ma'ale. Even for me, it's good. Okay, there he's saying it's something that's good for my eyes. Shmuel says all types of hops are allowed except for one type, which again, that type people only used for medicinal purposes. Amar Rav Chisda, Shrika Tavya Shari. Okay, what's Shrika Tavya? Again, debate. Well, I'll give you two opinions. Rashi says it's when you put shemen and beitzim, oil and eggs together, and you put it on top of meat. Okay, you kind of scramble it on meat. Rabbeinu Hananel says, no, it's melon juice. Okay, says me'e avatichim, that you would basically put it in a type of sieve where all the liquid would come out and you'd be left with some dregs, which we'll see in a minute why it seems like he's saying that's what this is. So they say this is allowed. Now the question is, again, allowed meaning what? Allowed to put on. So the issue is, are we talking about refuah here? Some people think, and this is a bit of a strange jump, that we're talking maybe about borer. Okay, you're allowed to sift something. That's possible because you put this in a sieve. A third option is maybe you're talking about makebe patish. Okay, I don't know, right? It seems a little bit out there, but Rashi says, if you look at Shrika Tavia, lishroku latuach shemen ubeitzim megugalim al atzli, you would basically, I'm sorry, I said it before that you basically scramble these eggs and then you put it and you kind of smear it on the meat. Kishu cham, while it's hot. Misha chashicha, you would do it at misha chashicha shari ubavat shelo yehe roteach, as long as it's not boiling. Kedei levashel v'lo amrin dami lemitakin. You might think this is like fixing the meat somehow. That's like maybe the last stage of fixing up the meat. Again, it's a bit of a jump where we got to that from, but again, I think they're struggling with what the reality of these cases are. Piapue be, which also seems like it has to do with eggs, according to Rashi, he says it's to beat your eggs, litrof beitzim megugalim b'kara, kind of beat up scrambled eggs in a bowl, is asur. It's forbidden to do this. The Rashba says it's actually a type of vegetable. Has nothing to do with eggs, and it's liquid that comes from a type of vegetable. Again, it's a little bit unclear. So these things, are they allowed because they're sifting them? Are they allowed, and it's not a problem to sift them? Are they allowed because we don't really view this as mitake and kli because you can do it without? Or are these all things that are done for medicinal purposes, which would seem the most likely thing because that's our context here? So Debitu, we're going to have a story about this. Debitu de Ze'eri, the wife of Ze'eri, Avdala Lachia Bar Ashi, she made this concoction for Chia Bar Ashi on Shabbat, below Achal, and he wouldn't eat it. Right? Could you imagine you're in the rabbi's house and you don't want to eat what the rabbi's wife gives you? So Amrle, Lirabach, Avdele Va'achal, Va'at Lo Achil. What do you mean? Your rabbi, I do this for him all the time for Ze'eri. He eats this. Why won't you eat it? So they explain now, why would Ze'eri eat it? Ze'eri l'ta'ameh, and here we get to why they think it's maybe an issue of borer. Zda'amar Ze'eri, noten adam yayin salul umayim tzlulim l'toch ha'mishmeret b'shabbat ve'eno choshesh. Ze'eri would put clear wine or clear water into a sieve on Shabbat, and even though there's still a few dregs in it or some dirt in the water, this is like putting your water in a Brita water filter, right? The water's clean, but you put in a filter anyway. Why do you put in a filter? Because you want it to be more clean. So that kind of thing is allowed on Shabbat exactly for this reason. Because since you can eat it without it, so first of all, again, you could see now, if you think about the Brita water filter, you can understand. Number one, you can see why there's different opinions. Number one, it's tikkun kli, you're fixing the water because you're filtering it. Number two, you're sifting it, which is a problem on Shabbat, you're borer. And number three, maybe you're doing it because you want healthier water. So that's why you could see how it could split up into three options. The issue is that you have this, that it's not. Why is it not? Because really the water or the wine is fine beforehand. It's just you want to do extra. Because of that, borer is allowed. For example, I'll give you an example. There's, you can peel cucumbers on Shabbat. Why? Theoretically, that's borer. You're taking off the bad from the good. You can only do borer when you're taking the good from the bad. But since people eat the cucumber peel, so it's not a problem to peel it. Now, even with, if you remember, we learned about borer, you can't use a special utensil that's special for that. Now, peeler is a special utensil. But you can do it on Shabbat because people will eat it without, so that's not borer. Since you can eat it without peeling it, therefore you can do it. So likewise here, it's not a problem. So therefore, alma kevan de mishtate hachi lav midi kavit. Since it can be drunk that way, you're not really doing anything, and therefore, hachinami kevan de mitchal hachi lav midi kavit. Likewise here, with this shrika tavia or piapue be, since you can eat it without doing that, therefore, it's allowed. So again, unclear what the reality is, but we'll leave it at that. But Amar Ma'ukva. So again, we're going to have issues that come up, even assuming this is for medicinal purposes, but you're doing it for medicinal purposes because you want to, maybe this is a way of making the medicine, that they would put it through this, the eggs, they would do whatever they did to them, whether it's eggs or whether it's juice that they're sifting. It's unclear exactly, but it seems like it's allowed because people will do it for other reasons also and not just for medicine. But although, like we see, there's a difference of opinion because Chia Bar Ashi wasn't willing to eat this. But Amar Mar Ukva, Misha Nagfa Yado or Raglo. Let's say you get a wound on your leg or your arm. Somta v'yayin ve'eno choshesh. You're allowed to soak it in wine. The soaking will kind of help the blood stop It will help it stop bleeding, and you don't have to worry. Now they ask the following question. Chalamai, what about in vinegar? Okay, the idea is that wine, the assumption here is that the wine maybe will help it. Now here we get to another criteria. You're allowed to do something for medicinal purposes if it's not necessarily so effective. So wine is not so effective to heal this, but vinegar is much more effective. So can you use vinegar? Amar Rav Hillel, Rav Ashi, Ki Avina be Rav Kahana. When I was in the house of Rav Kahana, Amre Chalalo. They told me no, because that's very effective and therefore it can't be used. So again, we have, if it's not used for medicine only, exclusively, then you can do it. Now we have, if it's not super effective, then you can use it. Amarava. V'hane b'nei Mechoza, the people of Mechoza, if you remember, we've learned they were very wealthy. Kevan de mefanke, afilu chamra nami masilu. Since they're mefunakim, they're very, they're spoiled. And because they're very spoiled, their skin is softer. And because of that, even the wine will help them. And therefore, they can't even use wine. So they can't use vinegar and they can't use wine to stop the bleeding. Ravina ikla lebe Rav Ashi. Now we're going to have another story. Ravina comes to Rav Ashi's house. He saw that a donkey stepped on him. It's funny, we're going to have chamra, which is a donkey, and chamra, which is wine. Maybe there's a bit of a play here. So a donkey stepped on the back of his leg, and he had a huge wound. And he's sitting there soaking it in vinegar. Amar Rav Hillel Rav Ashi, Ki Avina be Rav Kahana chalalo. So don't you know that? Aren't you the one who said that he says no? So Amar le gava yav gava regal shani. Says the back of the leg or the back of the hand is different. Why? And here comes the issue that I told you before, that it's very dangerous. So because of that, it's an issue. So now they say, Ika de Amre, some people say, Chazi de Katsamile B'chamer, he was putting it in wine, not in vinegar. Amar le, lo savar le mar, lahad amarava, hani b'nei Mechoza, kevan de mefanke, afilu chamer nami masilehu, umar nami hamefane. You're also a mifunak, you're spoiled in a nice way, but you're one of these people that's a more sensitive. And because you're more sensitive, basically, you also shouldn't use wine, and that the story was about wine and wasn't about vinegar. Amar le, gava yad, gava regel shani. I'm allowed to do it because it's in a dangerous spot. To Amar Rav Adabar Mana, Amar Rav, gava yad, gava regel, harein, kimakash al chalal, mechalalin alein et Shabbat. Okay, it's a very serious wound, and therefore you're allowed to be mechalal Shabbat, right? We all know about people who get infections, right? God forbid, you could get an opening in your skin, you could get an infection underneath, and it could get very serious very quickly, like a staph infection. So therefore, this is taken seriously, and therefore anything is allowed. Tanu Rabbanat. Now we're going to move on to the issue, back to where we started yesterday, about bathing in waters on Shabbat. Now I'm going to remind you, the issue of bathing we learned about earlier. You can't bathe in water on Shabbat because maybe you'll heat up the water. Now when you're talking about bathing in a body of water, there's not such an issue. So on a Torah level, you can actually go wash yourself, bathe, or swim in regular water. However, the rabbis said you can't do this for all sorts of various reasons. We're not going to get into them here. But what we're talking about is theoretically, from a Torah level, you can go bathing in these waters. And if we're not for all these other rabbinic issues that they brought up later, it would be okay. So therefore, the question is, and it seemed like in those days, people were still swimming in waters or bathing in waters on Shabbat. The question becomes, and plus there's side issues, your hair squeezing it out. These are all side issues that are serious issues, but again, not for our sugya. Our sugya kind of ignores all that. The question is, if you're going in these waters, do people go in these waters normally for medicinal purposes or not? So if they only go in these waters for medicinal purposes, it's going to be forbidden. So Tanu Rabbanan, Rochatzim b'mei grar, b'mei chamtam, b'mei asi, these are all different bodies of water in different places. U b'mei Tiberia, aval lo b'yam hagadol. You can't go in the Yam HaGadol. Yam HaGadol is generally known as the Mediterranean, but it could be even, they mean in big oceans. Now, what's the unique about Yam HaGadol, Mei Mishra, and Yam Shel Stom? So Yam Shel Stom and Yam HaGadol are both salt water. People don't generally go to wash their bodies in salt water, right? Normally you're at the beach, you rinse off the salt water off your body. Mei Mishra is flax water, water soaked in flax. You wouldn't normally bathe in that. So those are generally used for medicinal purposes. Urimenu, however, this contradicts another source. Rochatzim b'mei Tveria uba Yam HaGadol. Here it says you can go in the Yam HaGadol on Shabbat. Avalo b'mei Mishra, avalo b'Yam Shel Stom. So they're on the other, right? They stay, right? But Yam HaGadol switches. Kasha yama gadol yama gadol. So there's a contradiction. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and now they do something strange, something so strange that even Tosfot says, I don't know what they're talking about, why they even think to make a connection between these two issues. The Gemara is going to ultimately reject it, but Tosfot says, Tema heichi midame ha pluta la ha pluta. Okay? How they can compare these two things, Tosfot doesn't even understand. So if you're confused about it, don't worry. Tosfot didn't really understand either how the Gemara did this. But in any case, we'll try to explain it in a way that makes sense. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, lo kashya Rabbi Meir Rabbi Yehuda. This is a machloket Rabbi Meir Rabbi Yehuda that comes up about mikvah. So you need to know some background about mikvah. Mikvah, okay, when you go to a mikvah is supposed to be a body of water that's made from rainwater. It needs to be a minimum of 40 se'ah. And if it's rainwater, mainly rainwater, it can't have, there's rainwater and then there's stream water. Now, if it's mainly rainwater, it has to be mainly rainwater and have only a minority of stream water if there is any stream water coming through. It can't be mayim she'uvim, mayim that was taken out of a well or something. It has to be water that was sitting there from the rain. You could also go in a mikveh in a stream or something like that, and that's as long as you don't need 40 se'ah at that point. A mikveh needs to be in a contained space. That doesn't need to be in a contained space. It's called zochalim. Okay, the mikveh water is called ashboren, that's collected water. So you can also tovel in a mayim zochalim, stream water, as long as there's enough space for you to kind of bend down and fit in. It has to be a certain depth. But if most of the water there comes from rainwater, then it becomes a problem. In other words, things are either defined as one or the other, and they have to be the majority of that. So comes Rabbi Yehuda. Now, what's the problem? You have a Yama Gadol, and then the Yama Gadol is kind of like a mikveh, because it's a big body of water, which, so the problem is it's not really enclosed exactly, but let's just assume it's kind of stationary water. But then you end up with all these streams that stream through it. So it's a little bit tricky how to define it. So we say here, Ditnan, Kol Yamim Kimikva. All bodies of water, big bodies of water, or things that are not streams, are considered mikvah, okay, and not stream water in terms of the criteria for mikvah. Shene'emar ulemikveh hamayim kara yamim. Divrei Rabbi Meir, because it says to the mikveh hamayim, to the mikveh, it calls it yamim. He says all the yamim are considered like a mikveh. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Yam Gadol Kemikva v'lo ne'emar yamim, ela sheyesh bo minei yamim harbe. He says only the Yam Gadol is like a mikvah, but other yamim are not. And then he says Yam Gadol is like a mikvah, meaning we treat the Yam Gadol as if it's just a yam. We ignore the fact that there's all this water streaming through. Okay? So now, what does that mean? What does that have anything to do with our issue? And again, I said it's not exactly a clear-cut connection, but he seems to view the Yam Gadol as specifically salt water. If it's specifically salt water, in other words, basically the Yam Gadol is salt water, but there's all these streams coming in that aren't salt water. But he basically says, no, we view it as just the Yam Gadol for mikvah, which means that we view it for refuah purposes just as the Yam Gadol is salt water, which means that if it's salt water, no one's going to go in there for washing their body, even though it has other waters coming through. So therefore, you can't go in it. According to Rabbi Meir, he treats all the yamim as the same. Now, if all the yamim are the same, most yamim are not considered like salt water, and therefore he views all the yamim are the same. Therefore, again, it's a bit of a weak connection. But here, rochatzim b'mei tveria b'yam gadol, all those are treated the same, and therefore it's allowed. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda has Yam Gadol standing separate from all the others, and therefore, likewise, he would say the same thing for washing on Shabbat. In other words, using it for medicinal purposes, it's only used for medicinal purposes, and therefore it's forbidden. Rabbi Yossi over here, now we're just in that Mishnah, this doesn't really have to do with us, but he has a different opinion. Kol yamim mitarim b'zochalim. All yamim are treated like zochalim, okay, not like mikvahs, but they're mitarim like stream waters. And there's a third criteria, which I didn't mention before, which is for certain things, you need what's called mayim chayim. Mayim chayim means water that comes from a spring, from under the ground. That you need for a zav, and you need the mitzorah has this concoction that you make with mayim chayim, and so does the mechatat with the paraduma waters. So all yamim, any big ocean, are considered, or a big thing of water, is psulim lezavimu lemitzorahim lekadesh mechatat, because they're considered not spring water, so they can't be used as mayim chayim. But they can be viewed as zochalim because other waters stream into it, and therefore they can be viewed like zochalim also. Mat kifla Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. But here comes the difficulty. The fact that they have this machloket about mikvah and tum and tara, that has absolutely nothing to do about Shabbat and what kind of water it is, if viewed as salt water or not. This has nothing to do with it. Ela Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, he has a different answer. Lo kasha, had ishtehe, had lo ishtehe. It all depends on how long you spent in the water. If you spend a long time in the water, you would only spend a long time in this water. If you were washing your body. If you're washing your body, you would go in and go out. If you're spending a long time, it must be you're doing it for medicinal purposes and you're kind of soaking yourself in that water. And that would be the difference. That sounds like a good answer. However, it doesn't fit with the source that they have. The second one, what are you saying? To lo ishtehe, that it's that you didn't stay there very long and therefore you're allowed to do it and it doesn't look like medicine. But idelo ishtehe, now you have to go back to the second source. The second source said, because we were really only focusing until now on the Yam HaGadol, but if you remember, both sources we saw said not b'mei mishra. So that last source we saw, the second one, which said, yes, Yam HaGadol, no flax water. Well, if you're going to say it's that you didn't spend very long there, we're now going to see a source that says if you spent a short time, a long time, if you, if you didn't spend a long time there, we're now going to see a braita that says if you don't spend a long time in flax water, you're actually allowed to rinse off in there also, okay? And the only time it's forbidden is if you spend a long time there. So therefore, that source which distinguished between Yam HaGadol and flax water isn't going to make sense because theoretically, if you don't spend a long time there, both of them should be allowed. So that's what we're going to see right now. So if you're not going to spend a long time there, even flax water should be allowed. Tehatanya, don't we learn in a braita? Here it says you're allowed to wash in Tveria, in Mei Mishra and flax water, and even in the Dead Sea, even if you have some sort of wound on your head, and it might look like you're going in the water to fix the wound, so you're allowed to. So now the braita continues and obviously has to explain in what case are we referring to. If you don't stay there very long, if you kind of jump in, jump out. So therefore, we can't say that this braita, which says, yes, Yam HaGadol, not flax water, was talking about if you were only there for a short time, because this braita says if you're only there for a short time, even flax water is allowed. Ela, Yam HaGadol lo kasha. So third possible answer, again, we tried to say maybe Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meir machloket. We tried to say maybe waiting, not waiting. Again, one says, yes, you can wash in Yam HaGadol, and one says, no, you can't. So the answer is going to be, lo kasha habi yafin shabo habi cha'in shabo. There's nice clean waters and there's dirty waters. So there's dirty parts of it and clean parts. If you're going in the dirty parts, then obviously you're not going to wash off your body, and therefore it must be you're doing for refuah, for medicinal purposes, and therefore it's forbidden. Versus the afin shabo, which you're allowed even for washing purposes. And me mishra nami lo kasha. And now, again, some of the sources said me mishra yes, some of them said, or two of them said no, one of them said yes. Had ishtahe, had lo ishtahe. We already knew this, but now they're just specifying, and that's a distinction between, right, meaning the first two braita are if you stay there a long time, and the last braita is if you don't stay there very long. In new Mishnah, we're still continuing with these topics of things that one can do for medicinal purposes. We're going to continue with this into tomorrow's daf also. Ein ochlin is avyon b'Shabbat. Okay, this comes from Ezov, from Hyssop. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in the Gemara, although I can't promise we're going to exactly understand what these are. Lefisha eino ma'achal bri'in. Okay, you can't eat this on Shabbat because no healthy person normally eats this. It's obviously only used for medicine. Aval ochel hoet yoezer, but you can eat yoezer. We'll see what that is. V'shoteh abu bra'ah, and you can drink this thing called abu bra'ah. Kol ochalim ochel adam l'refuah. You can eat any food if you're eating regular food and you want to eat it for medicine. You can. V'kol mashkin shoteh, you can drink anything. Chutz mimed kalim v'kos ikarin mipnei shehem liyiroka. Following things are used for jaundice. Okay, water from dekalim, from a palm, like the juice of a palm tree. Or some people explain it some other way, that there's some water that came out between these two specific dekalim in Eretz Israel, and it was known, and there was a ma'ayan that came out of there. Kos ikarin, okay, why is it called kos ikarin? Some people say that it causes people to be sterile, and therefore it's called kos ikarin, but people use it for jaundice. Okay, and there's a debate about how exactly they made this, and some people were going to see, some people drink it, and some people put it on their skin. Aval shotehu made kalim litzam. Oh, you can drink this made kalim if you're for thirst. V'sach shemini kalim shelo l'refuah. And if you're using the oil that comes from this ikarin, this herb or whatever it was, the ikarin, then you can use it not for medicinal purposes. Amar Rav Yosef, Ezov, now they're just telling you in the words of what their time, what they called it, Abarta bar Hamag, that's what it is. But Izavyon is Abarta bar Chinik. Okay, so there's Ezov and there's Izavyon. They're two slightly different things. And these are what they're called in their times. Ula Amar, now we want to know what this is. Ula says it's Marva Chivara. Okay, so he says it's white sage. Ula ikla lebe Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda, aitu lekame Marva Chivara. Someone brought white sage to him. Amar, here's his reaction. This is the halachic man, as the Rav Soloveitchik likes to say. Hainu Ezov, dichtib ba'oraita. He sees this, says that's the Ezov they were talking about in the Torah. Rav Papa Amar, a third answer. In other words, either we have it says Abarta Barhinig, or it's white sage, or it's shumshuk. Okay, this thing called shumshuk, we don't know what that is. Amar B'Yirmi Amidifti, Kavatej Rav Papi Mistaber. It seems like he's right. Ditnan, as it says in the Mishnah, Mitzvat Ezov, Shlosha Klachim Uvahem Shlosha Givolim. When you do the mitzvah of Ezov, again, they used it for the mitzorah and for other things. So it comes with these three stems or three three pieces, and each one has three givolim coming out, three stems coming out. To me, it sounds like a hadas, where there's three that come out, right? The hadasim in our lulav, they have three coming out in one place. And the shumshik has this, okay, and the others don't. Shumshiku de mishkach hachi. You can find this in the shumshik. Lamai achlele, what do people use this for? Because he told us it was for medicinal purposes. Now they want to say, well, what do we use it for? Likukiane. Okay, they use it for kukiane, which is intestinal worms. Lamai achlele, so how do you eat it? What's the way that you eat it for fixing this problem? Amalei b'shevat mare uchmata, you eat it with, and now we're going to get into a whole list till the end of the daf of all sorts of remedies. You eat it with 7, right? 7 is always the magic number. You eat it with 7 black dates. Mimai havya. Where do you now? Not only are we going to find out why you do this, for what disease, but what causes this disease, because they want to help you to figure out how not to get this disease. How would you get sick with these intestinal worms? It's from ground up flour made from barley that sat around for 40 days. Okay, I guess this is like expiration date, right? Don't use it after this day, you'll get sick from it. You can eat yoezer because yoezer is used for not only for refuah purpose, for medicinal purposes. My yoezer, putnik. Okay, again, it didn't help us very much. Lamai achlele, what do you eat it for? La'arkita, okay, for liver worms. Lamai achlele, how would you eat it then? B'shevat mari chivarta. Now you take white dates, not black dates, dark dates, but you would take white dates. Mimai havia, what do you get this disease from? We're going to have a long list of things that could cause these liver worms. Me'umtsa, raw meat, umaya aliba rekana. You would have raw meat and water on an empty stomach. Umibisra shamna aliba rekana, or from fatty meat on an empty stomach. Umibisra detora aliba rekana. You have meat from a cow on an empty stomach. Me'am goza aliba rekana, if you eat walnuts on an empty stomach. Umigeri de rubia aliba rekana, if you eat fenugreek shoots on an empty stomach. Umeshate maya abatre, and you drank water immediately after. So all this would cause you to get these worms. V'ilo, and if this, let's say you don't have this solution, or this solution doesn't work for you. If you remember, we had this another time, where they give you all sorts of options. Livle tachle chivarta, you swallow white cress. V'ilo, and if you don't have that, lete betanita, fast. The lete bisra shamna, and then take fatty meat. The lishte al gomre, put it on coals. The limitz garma, and suck out the bones. The ligma chala, and swallow vinegar. Vikada amre chala lo. Some people say, and this is where I said you got to be careful. Don't use the vinegar because mishum de kashe lekavda. This is actually bad for your liver. Okay, it might help that, but it's going to cause you other problems. This is classic for medicine, right? This could cause other problems, side effects. V'ilo lete gorda de asitna. You take sawdust from a thorn bush, where you basically, what's the word? You grade it, you scrape it. That's the word I was thinking. You scrape it from top to bottom, but not lomi tatai eli. Don't scrape it from bottom to top. Why? Well, because we look at these as not necessarily as the way we look at medicine, but that there's some magical powers to it. If you scrape it bottom to top, what might happen? Think about your body. It's in the livers, the worms. You don't want it to come out of your mouth. Dilma nafka aide pume. You don't want it to come out of your mouth. So if you scrape it going up, in other words, you're basically scraping it down to kind of say, I want this to go out of my body, okay? And in a down fashion, not in an up fashion through my mouth. What do you do with it after you take the sawdust? Lish l'kei b'shichva, you cook it in beer, be'shichve, be'en hashmashot, okay? Specific time of day. We have all sorts of things that go into this. It's not just do it whenever. Ula machar, and the next day, naspirinim l'nikavim didei ulishte. Okay, then what is this? You close your nostrils so that you don't smell it because the smell is really strong at that point. And then you drink it, right? This is classic. Mother gives medicine to the child, close your nose so you don't smell how bad it is. At least in my day we used to. I think nowadays the medicines don't smell as bad, but they probably still do. And then when you finally go to the bathroom where it's going to come out, you go to the bathroom sounds very unpleasant, on the trunk of a dekel tree, okay? I don't know why. So, Shotin Abu, there's not much we can do with these sugyas. They're kind of complicated, and again, you have to understand it in the time and the context. So someone points out it's the tree from which you strip the bark. It was that specific tree. Okay. Moving on. Shotin Abu Brua. My Abu Brua, Chum Tiraya. Okay, that didn't help us. My Chum Tiraya. Chutra Yechida'a. You take a lone stick, like a twig. Lamai Avdele. What's this for? Ligiluye. It's for water that was left open at night. What happens? We know that there's, I don't know if we came up yet, but it's going to come up lots of times. If you leave water open overnight, there was a concern that there was a poison that was put in by a snake overnight, and that if you, let's say you drink that and you have that poison in your body, how do you get rid of it? So it's this humteraya, which is abubara. The elo, and if you don't have that, lete, or it didn't work, lete chamisha klile, take 5 roses, the chamisha kosta de shichra, and 5 cups of beer, vinishkalinu bahade adade, you cook them together, ad dekaima ampika. Until it boils down to only a quarter of a log, and then you drink it. She created this concoction for someone who had this problem. She took only 1 rose and 1 cup of beer instead of the 5. Shalka, she cooked it up. Ishkite, she gave it to him to drink. The shagra, and then she did one other thing though. Shagra tanura, she got an oven. The garafte, she swept out all the coals. Otivite levene. She then put him seated on a brick in the oven. Bigave inside. V'nafat kahutza yarka, and it came out like a green leaf. Okay, out came this thing that he had. Okay, so it was the poison. Rav Avia Amar Raviata Dechalva Mi'iza Chivarta. Rav Avia said you should use a quarter of a log of goat milk, white goat milk. Rav Huna Bar Yehuda Amar Leite Etroga Chalita. Okay, these are all different solutions you can use. Take an etrog that's sweet. L'chaike ulamale duvsha, make a hole and put honey into it. The lotve be'me yala denura v'lichle, and you put it on a burning coal and you eat it. Rabbi Chanina, you cook it up with the honey and then you eat it. Rabbi Chanina Amar me raglayim, right, a spoonful of sugar. Like that, right? Make something very sweet. It's a little different, but okay. Rav Chanina says, "Mei raglayim b'nei 40 yom." Drink urine that's 40 days old, right? We've seen this before, whether it's 40 days old or whether it's urine that from a child that's 40 days old. Okay, now we're going to see a bunch of different things. A barzina lizibure. It depends how much. A little bit of it is good for hornet's bite. Revia, a quarter of a log for an akrav, for a scorpion bite. Palga, half a log. Palga riva ligiluye. It's for if the water was revealed and you had that poison in your body. Riva afilu likshafin mali, right? And then a log. I guess the riva is a log itself. Okay, that's even effective. So each one is a bit of a bigger shiur, and if you drink more of it, then you'll end up helping yourself even for kshafim, for witchcraft. Okay, right, to take away a spell. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, anigron v'avangar v'tirakia. Okay, these are, anigron is water with spinach. Avangar is with some grass, water cooked up with it. And tiraika is balsam. We always talk about the balsam. Ma'alu ben legiluya ben l'kshafim. This works for water that was revealed or also for witchcraft. Haiman de balachivya. Okay, let's say you swallow a snake. And this is going to start a whole thing about snakes, which will continue into tomorrow's daf. If you swallowed a snake, okay, which apparently people could do, I don't know, you might somehow swallow a snake. What should you do? Luch l'kashuta, you should eat hops b'milcha, salted, v'lirahate, and then you should run tlata mile, 3 meal. Okay, somehow running is a good way to get it done, get it out. Rav Shimi bar Ashi chazi alahu gavra de balachivi, he saw someone who ate a snake. Id mele keparshe, he looked to him like a horseman. I think because he was running so fast after he did this to get it out, that he looked to him like a horseman. Ochle kashuta b'milcha v'arahate kameh. So he ate a shuta, right, the hops with salt, and he ran after him tlata mile v'nafik mine gove, and it came out in pieces. Igad Amre, some people said it was a little different, that Rav Shimon bar Ashi balachivya, he himself swallowed a snake. Ate Eliyahu idmele keparasha. Eliyahu appeared, right? He's the one who always resolved things. And, oh, so sorry, I did explain it wrong. Rav Shimi, in the previous one, it was Rav Shimi came to him on a horse. Sorry, that was it. He saw this image of someone on a horse who kind of told him what to do. And then here you have Eliyahu coming as a horseman. Ochle kashuta b'milcha v'arate kameh. Again, he showed him what to do to eat the hops in salt and run tlata mile. V'nafik mine gove, and it came out in pieces. Okay, we'll stop here for today. We'll pick up more with the snakes tomorrow, more things about eating if somebody swallows a snake. I definitely wouldn't try that one at home. And with that, I'll wish everybody a chodesh tov, and in light of today's daf, and a healthy month.